Hi everyone, now I'm going to be tying this fly here. Now, this is just a glass bead, Midge Pupa or a grey boy. It was a question that got asked, it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Did I ever put beads on my buzzers, especially in the winter months? And one of the main beads I did put on was a glass bead, this one here. Now, when I worked in the fishery for 15 years, and practically the only bead I did use was this one. I did have a red one, which I ran out of. I had black, which I didn't really use much, but this was the one I used more, and as you can see, it's a kind of pearly UV blue colour. Now, as I say, these are 20 odd years old, these beads, so if you go to these craft shops, you will find beads like this, and they're all different sizes. There's no size on it. It's just basically the size. It's probably around about 2.5mm or so. They are slightly different lengths. Some of them are quite long. Some are, so I don't know if you can see. Some are short. There's a long one there, just inside the hook shank there. So they're different lengths. So you just pick them out to suit. Now I'm going to show you how I tied. Now the one I've tied is a grey boy. So I've got your favourite buzzer. Just tie your favourite buzzer behind this bead, then you'll find it does quite well. Hook, I'm using this one from Fully Mill. Now some hooks you'll not get them round the bend because of the barb. These are barbless, and this is a great hook. This is the Czech Nymph, and this is the heavy version. They do a light, so if you want a lighter hook, there's a light version, and obviously the heavy version. It's good in the winter months, and it's a strong hook. Now I'm going to use here to basically highlight the bead. Now, you don't need to put wing buds on this fly. You could just do this with the bead, especially with the longer bead. You could probably just use this. But this method of what I did was just hold the bead back a wee bit, and then you can colour a fluorescent thread. In this case, this is a fire orange unit. So we just go down with a layer, come back up, and then with whip finish, just forming a nice kind of 2 layers of the thread itself, as long as it's bright enough. Get that away. Now, originally I used varnish or super glue, any of the two, but I'm going to use the resin. This is the UV resin from Bug Bond. This is the original light. I like to put enough on it so it contacts with it. It's a wee bit tight, so I'm just going to encourage it right up against. Some of the beads, I say, they're all different. Some will go up nice against it, some will right tight. I'm just going to encourage it to get right up. And then I'm going to set it. As I say, you could just tie a black buzzer or black body with a silver rib, pearl rib, up against the bead, and it'll still work. Now it doesn't add a huge amount of weight, but it does add a bit of colour. It certainly catches the light. Certainly give the impression of what they call the breathers, the Midge Pupa, and that's one of the reasons I bought it. There is a white pearly one. I'll show you the white pearly. I did find these ones. I did use the white, which is more like a pearl, this one, and it's still got a wee bit of UV in it. So have a look at the beads and look for one that's red and it's got a UV coming off it. You can get them. I can't find them. I'm sure I had some, but I don't know where I've put them. But anyway, the thread I like to use in buzzers is a UTC. In this case, this is a 70 in black. So I start at the top here. Now I'm going to be using two. This is a Flexi Floss from Fully Mill. So with the Fully Mill Flexi Floss, if I can say it right. This is the fluorescent white, this one, and the other one's the fluorescent orange, which is going to be for the wing buds, and you can see really bright. Certainly if you want to see it, you will. Now I've got a length of the white here. I'm going to catch that on the way down. So just leave a wee tail there, and then stretch the floss as you wind your thread down. And then come back up. Oops. I'm just going to continue all the way up to the bead. And as I get to the bead, now that wee tail you can basically stretch, trim it away. And then come back down. This will help you taper the body. I'm going to come back at least 2/3 of the way and then come back up to basically in line with the point of the hook. So if we're in line with the point of the hook, once we let the thread go, then we can rib the body. So we just work our way up nice and tight, leaving a space as we bind. We can slightly loosen off a wee bit with the floss to get a better taper. See what that looks like, that's fine. And again, I'm just going to work my way all the way up to the bead. And then stretch the floss and then trim. We need a cut if you do that. Now, as you start to come back down, I'm going to tie in the fluorescent orange. And all I do is fold it around the thread, holding both ends, the long end and the short. Leave maybe about an inch so you've got something to grip. Now bring it underneath, and then you can wind down right to the last turn of the white Flexi floss. Now this is where you could put a thorax cover on it if you want. I'll do it just to show you. This is a UTC, this is the Mirage. Show it there, it's the medium in opal. And I catch this on. Just build it up a wee bit. Bring this over just with a turn. Well, 2 turns anyway. I'm just going to trim it away because it makes it easier to get it out of the way. Just enough to hold. Remember, you're going to be well, I'm going to be using a resin here. So I've got both ends of the fluorescent orange Flexi floss, which I'm going to bring up. The tighter you pull it, the finer it will get. The looser it is, obviously more orange you'll see, more bulk. And then we can basically build up. You're going to get a wee bit ahead here. So just take your time, make sure it's secure. And then we can stretch the floss, trim it. Stretch it, trim it. You'll have a couple of wee bumps here. You can tidy this up with a thread, or you could just leave it, it's up to yourself. And then whip finish. As I say, you could leave the wing buds off. Oops. Just caught that wrong. You could leave the Flexi floss or the wing buds off and just have the head. It's up to yourself. I like it either way. Now what I'm going to do now, I've got my UV resin. This, I say, the one I'm using is the original light. This one's a bug bond. You could use whatever one, there's lots out there. I just put a drop in the top, and then I use my dubbing needle just to run the resin around. I usually like to scrape it down onto the tape. I don't want to lose too much of the... I want to keep a nice taper in the fly or in the Midge Pupa. You can always take away the excess. I'm going to be varnishing this as well, so if you put too much, it's very easy to put too much of this on. I don't like too much. There we are. When you're happy enough, you can set the resin. Just using that. You can see the fluorescence, obviously, at the bead. This is highlighting it. I mean, you will get a fluorescence, and especially in the morning. You'll get that bright light in the evening, does it as well. But anything with a bit of aiming point, it works. That's a kind of good mix of colour there. You could change the inner to red. You could use flash even if you want. Just depends on how much room you have in the bead itself. As I say, when you buy the beads, they will be all different shapes, so there's different lengths. That's what I found anyway. Once you're happy, make sure the resin is set. And then I like a nice light coat of varnish just to seal it. Just helps to keep it nice and bright. Now the varnish will shrink once it's dry. It'll not be as bulky looking as it is just now. And there we go. And that's a glass bead. So probably the only glass bead, as I say, I used. I did have a couple others, but that was the most popular with me. That's the one I caught mainly on. And as I say, you could leave the wing buds out, but it does add to it. I liked it. So, and you can see the fire orange thread coming through. So whatever thread colour you throw in there, it's going to lift it and enhance the bead itself, so you can mess around with the colour. So anyway, there we are. Hope you enjoyed that. And again, thanks for watching.